Okay, so I am going to start. Sorry for the delay. Apologize. I guess this delay actually epitomizes what I'm about to speak about. So here we go. A couple quick points. First of all, I just want to, we're next to the Sheriff's Convention at Texas. So, we're definitely on the safest place on earth. So if anyone has any security concerns, I definitely know we're in a good place. I'll tell you guys a quick story, just to start off. So I travel a lot. I did over 136,000 miles last year, just for business. And I hear a lot of stories, travel stories. And I'll tell you one of the more interesting ones. I'm not going to tell you about the hotel I was in last week in Anaheim, where they actually gave me the wrong room, and I opened the door at 11 p.m. to find an elderly gentleman in his pajamas. Thank God it was only an elderly gentleman, and he was in his pajamas. But stuff does happen. So I'll tell you this story. So there was a pilot on a flight. He was about to land, and he gets on the intercom, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're at 17,000 feet. We're going to be landing at LAX." Oh my gosh! And he starts screaming. Okay, and the mic goes silent, and that's that. He comes back a couple minutes later, gets on, and he says, "I apologize, the flight attendant was just bringing me a coffee before we landed, and she spilled it all over my pants. You should see the front of my pants." So one of the passengers from the back screams out, "And you should see the back of mine." All right. All right. So levers of success, okay? No matter what industry you're in. Oh, there's that's my family. Sorry. Yeah, this is really low tech. I'm sorry. This is honestly one of the more embarrassing speeches I've given. But so what we're going to talk about in this presentation, if you can see, is we're going to talk about the importance of innovating, case studies, why innovation matters for VARs and resellers, some examples of successful payment innovation, EMV integrations, current trends in payment processing. I'm sure you guys all read and write English, so you can, and these slides should be available afterwards, by the way. So you can read as well as I can. Current trends in payment processing, payment security, payback model, easy and flexible integrations, recurring payments, international expansion, and customer experience matters most. So no matter what industry you're in, innovation is what sets you apart from the rest, okay? You can have the most unique offerings in the market, but if you're not cutting edge, it just doesn't matter. Some of the most successful brands in American history experienced decades of popularity only to meet their untimely demise, just because they hadn't kept up with the times. So an example I'm going to give is Kodak and Blackberry. Kodak was founded in 1888 by a fellow by the name of George Eastman. By 1976, they were so dominant in the market that 85%, that's right, 85% of all cameras and 90% of all films sold in the United States were Kodak. They also had global domination as well. In 1975, a Kodak engineer invented the digital camera. That was a year before those stats that I just gave you. But Kodak executives were convinced no one would want to look at pictures on a television set. Flash forward a couple of decades, digital cameras were exploding in popularity, but Kodak was late to the game because they did not innovate when they had the chance. They were removed from the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 2004, something they held for over 7 decades, and they filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Incredible rise and plummet of a dominant brand that simply failed to see the next shoe to drop, the next piece of innovation, the next thing they needed to capitalize on. Another example, many of you remember, is BlackBerry, okay? These mobile phones were so dominant on Wall Street and Capitol Hill, they were called crackberries at one point. However, the launch of iPhone and Android devices brought consumers access to apps, okay? A unique feature and selling point that BlackBerry left behind in the dust. BlackBerry failed to keep up with this trend, and they now have 0.000539% market share last time I checked. As you can see, I'm using an iPhone. Innovation, like so many areas of life, it's my beautiful family again. That's us at the Waimea Canyon in Hawaii. Okay. Sorry. Innovation, like so many other areas of life, requires you to leave the confines of your comfort zone and think big. There's a famous joke that you guys may be familiar with. It's a story joke. There were two workers on a roof, okay? They each took their lunches every day. One took his peanut butter and jelly sandwich. His name was Sam. And the other one had a tuna fish sandwich every day. His name was Jim. And they both were sitting on the roof, and they said, if I get peanut butter and jelly, Sam said, if I get peanut butter and jelly for lunch one more time, I will jump off this roof and kill myself. And Jim said, if I get tuna fish one more time, I will jump off this roof and kill myself. The next day, they opened their lunches, and lo and behold, Sam had peanut butter and jelly, Jim had tuna fish, and they both jumped to their untimely demise. Afterwards, they were doing a post-mortem. Their wives were talking, and they were talking about the tragedy. What a terrible thing. Both Jim and Sam are gone. And Sam's wife, the tuna fish one, said, I don't understand. If my husband didn't want tuna fish, he could have just told me. I would have made him something else. And the PB&J one said, and I don't understand. He made his own lunch. In so many cases, if we want to take change and we want to affect change, it's something we need to do ourselves, and we need to be those creators of that change. This is some of the stock trends of Kodak and Blackberry. As you can see, Blackberry actually did a little bit better, but still not very good. I'm going to talk a little bit about a Japanese concept called Kaizen. So innovation, like we said, requires you to leave the confines and comforts of your comfort zone and think big. It's not easy, but it's the most reliable path to success and satisfaction. There's a Japanese word that encapsulates this concept. One of the things that you see on a recent trip to Japan, you can see it's prevalent in the entire culture, and it resonates in every single employee, okay? So Kaizen means continuous improvement, okay? The simple way is change, good. Sounds like a campaign slogan, but that is the Japanese culture, and it's the motto of their workforce. It's a tenet of the Japanese culture and economy, and this value is demonstrated by any employee, top to bottom, CEO to the assembly line worker. Post-World War II, when Japan rose to its height as the world's second wealthiest nation after the United States, it did so by leveraging this value of Kaizen. It's actually interesting to note. I was previously a financial advisor, so I studied the markets, and one of the things that I learned was Japan actually went through its third lost decade. So Japan did encapsulate this Kaizen concept, but unfortunately, they failed to continue to innovate, and they're now behind China as the world's third largest economy, and they're going through lost decade after lost decade. So they're not innovating possibly as much as they should, and we're seeing other dominant players, South Korea and others. Staying innovative and having a mindset of constant improvement is essential for every business professional, but today I'm going to focus on why it's so essential for value-added resellers and other vendor businesses. I'm going to share some notable payment trends that are reshaping the payments landscape and provide some examples from my experience working at Cardknox, okay? My role at Cardknox, we're a payment gateway. We're a developer-friendly payment gateway. We also own Fidelity Payment Services, one of the largest payment processors in the nation. In my role as Vice President of Sales, I interact with businesses in every industry that want to optimize their payment processing setup. While these businesses vary greatly in type, if you follow my travels, you'll see I go from vertical to vertical. So one day I'm at the Waste Expo, the next day I'm at the JCK Jewelry Show, another day I'm at IAPA, which is a show for amusement and recreation. We really work in many different verticals. And one of the things I found is when it comes to payment processing, the needs and preferences are literally the same. You can have two different people in completely disparate verticals that actually want the same thing. Businesses do not want to waste time and money. Businesses want to be sure that payment information is kept safe, right? note to Capital One. Not sure if anyone saw that yet. Okay, I guess I'm the only one who gets breaking news reports. And perhaps 100 million people were impacted this morning by a breach of Capital One. Okay, I don't know if you've all seen the Equifax settlement, but if you're not, you're eligible for $125 if you're one of the 146 million people who were impacted. My wife and I both were. So businesses want to create a stellar user experience and checkout experience, keeping their customers at the forefront of everything they do. Meeting these needs means keeping a finger on the pulse of payment technology. Because when it comes to improving business management, when it comes to improving customer satisfaction, what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. Retail and payment technology is evolving at the speed of light, which means that if you stay in one place, you're bound to fall behind. So this is actually something that we've learned at the start with Cardknox, and it's been our focus ever since. The truth is, our payment gateway, like I said, we're owned by Fidelity Payment Services, a payment processor, essentially, First Data's largest retail ISO. We created our own payment gateway because we figured there was no solution out there that fit the needs, the constantly changing needs of our clients. As a matter of fact, it's not in the script, but just when I hire, really the first thing I look for is dynamic people. David's very dynamic, as you can see. Figuring out how to jerry-rig this damn thing. So Cardknox is a brainchild of Fidelity Payment Services, and after looking for an omni-channel payment gateway that would meet the needs of its merchant base, the team at Fidelity realized that there wasn't one that had the desired level of flexibility, so we created our own. Our gateway was designed to be developer-friendly, and we're proud of the value we brought to our partners and clients. In its early days, Cardknox brought value to developers and merchants by offering some of the first and most flexible EMV integrations. We were first to market with some EMV solutions. And upgrading to EMV processing was and still is quite costly and time-consuming for merchants, as it often requires hardware and software changes. It's really incredible. I don't know how many of us remember October of 2015, November of 2015, and then really 2016. I'm not going to use any four-letter language here, but it was challenging, to say the least. Innovating and getting up to speed with EMV was an absolute. It was definitely challenging. There was a survey from 2016, which was right after the EMV liability shift, and it revealed that more than half of large and mid-sized retailers had already installed new EMV equipment, but they were waiting for certification from credit card companies, and most have been waiting for more than 6 months. So it was a challenge. I remember working with First Data and working through the technical hurdles, and it was a nightmare. With integrated EMV solutions, upgrading to EMV processing is much faster and more cost-effective. Our robust browser-based integrations and other advanced EMV features made it a breeze for merchants to get up and running with EMV, no matter their existing setup. So that was important. We had to be flexible to the needs of the people that we were working with, understand what those needs were, understand how to be flexible, how to customize solutions for them. Browser-based EMV was non-existent. We pioneered it, and it was a challenge. The success of our EMV integrations demonstrated the importance of providing solutions addressing the latest trends and preferences, and we try to ensure a hassle-free experience. Continuing this focus on innovation, it's kept us busy as technology rapidly evolves. I'd like to focus on several key trends that Cardknox is closely watching. These trends, I believe, will have a huge impact on the payment industry, and as such, it's really important for VARs and vendors to harness the power of these technologies. So just looking back at EMV, obviously that was a massive undertaking, but there's definitely some forward-facing trends that we should be looking out for to bear in mind. The first big trend I'd like to talk about is that of security technology, and specifically card-not-present security tools. I'll tell you honestly, this is the craziest thing. It literally just happened. My wife and I are planning a trip to Africa, and believe it or not, in external countries, the vendor is actually based in Britain, but there was an issue with my card, and they had to remove the 3D secure component in order to ensure that they were able to take my payment. It's fascinating that when it comes to the United States, we are the most cutting edge. We offer the most cutting edge technology. But when it comes to EMV, we really, and when it comes to payments, we're not necessarily ahead of the game. EMV, I don't know if anyone knows what the E in EMV stands for. It stands for Europe. because Europe was the first ones to have it. Whenever we visited other countries, Canada, Australia, Europe, we were always behind the 8 ball. And it took us years to acclimate to that. So card not present is probably, I would say, arguably the next shoe to drop. And when it comes to that, so EMV chip cards, which are prevalent and important in the retail environment, so they've made it much harder for fraudsters to obtain card data. I always like to give the example of my wife purchasing a sandwich in Chile, followed by an Aeromexico ticket. Her card was hacked. We were in Miami at the time, and that was a card present transaction, not EMV at the time. But many are turning to online fraud instead. In fact, recent research shows the average price that a fraudster can fetch for card not present data has tremendously increased due to a surge in demand. So to combat this, we're seeing even more card not present security tools and protocols. So I'm not sure how comfortable everyone is with 3D Secure 2.0, but 3D Secure 2.0 is really the wave of the future, and it's absolutely imperative that it gets implemented. So 3D Secure 2.0 was launched last year. It's now being adopted by a growing number of industry stakeholders. 3D Secure 2.0 adds a layer of security to transactions by verifying customer identities at the point of sale, all with a lot less friction. Okay, like it tried to do for me. And then they had to take it down and ask me. They actually asked me if I can take a picture of my credit card and then send it to them just for their records to know that at least I had the card, at least I had the physical card. The newer version supports a wider range of e-commerce, in-app, mobile wallet, and MODO. MODO is the old language for mail order, telephone order payments. I'm sure we're all familiar with that, but nowadays there's not a whole lot of telephone payments, but IVR is something that is prevalent as well. And it utilizes an even larger number of data points to authenticate transactions, okay? I guess that's where I went wrong in my African transaction. So it's much less likely that the customer will need to take the time to verify their identity. And if customer verification is needed, the verification process is fully embedded into the payment flow. So it really makes for a seamless transaction, meaning when just for example, when I was actually doing this transaction that I mentioned, I was not even aware of the authentication that was going on behind the scenes. They were, verifying IP address, and they were verifying data points to confirm that that was actually me making that authentic transaction. So this brings me to the next security technology that's picking up steam. And at various conferences, I've met some people that are actually really working on this point, and that's biometrics, okay? I don't know how many of you use the iPhone X or have seen it, but even before, which is now face technology, but prior to that, the previous iPhones were all fingerprints. Biometrics. So biometric authentication methods, fingerprinting and voice recognition technology are slowly being implemented by a growing number of card brands, software developers, and payment technology providers. In fact, a recent study revealed that mobile biometrics will authenticate $2 trillion worth of in-store and remote payment transactions annually by 2023. So the concept of biometrics. So we've talked about 3D Secure 2.0, which is card not present. We've talked about biometrics. The concept is you're going for a jog around the block, and you don't have your wallet on you, which is quite prevalent. You can actually make a purchase with your fingerprint. You guys have seen, I'm sure, Disney's magic bands. I mean, that's older technology, but that type of concept. So biometrics is something that is definitely up and coming, and it also, from a loyalty standpoint, it's something that we're looking into. The ability to create for a merchant. Your fingerprint will always remain the same. So the ability to have loyalty, just by leveraging your fingerprint for a merchant, and every 10th drink is free, every 10th sushi order is free, something like that. Unlike passwords, biometric authentication methods cannot be guessed or obtained by hackers unless they cut your thumb off like we see in the movies. Not in the script. This is truly a game changer, considering that 81% of hacking-related breaches are thought to have occurred through stolen or weak passwords. Some of the largest data breaches of the past few years, like Uber, Equifax, and Yahoo, and now I can add Capital One this morning, took place because hackers obtained login credentials. I actually got an email this morning, but I'm sure we get them all daily. Facebook security said that they listed an IP address. They said someone was trying to hack into my Facebook account, and and they asked me to authenticate and this and that. So one of the things I actually did, which is good practice, is I looked at the email address, and it was Facebook security something at gmail.com. So I was like, okay, thank you very much. Prince of Nigeria can keep his email. The growth of biometric authentication methods will be spurred on by 3D Secure 2.0, something we just discussed. Since some of 3D Secure 2.0's new customer verification methods are biometric, like in-app fingerprinting. Another factor that's going to drive growth for biometrics is the rising popularity of contactless cards. Since some card brands will be rolling out those two solutions simultaneously. Just out of curiosity, raise a hand, says, how many of us have actually used a contactless card, like an Apple Pay or something like that? So yeah, it is something that's definitely becoming prevalent. And when I say contactless, by the way, I'm not sure how familiar you are, but there's actually two types of contactless. There's what's called EMV contactless and non-EMV contactless. So I'm not sure if anyone understands what that means, but basically the concept of EMV, and I know the RetailNOW people told me that everyone knows about how EMV works, and they said not to focus on it too much. So I'm just going to give my definition from my early days understanding EMV. The way I encapsulate EMV is it's an electronic handshake. It's a two-way correspondence. And when I say, the reason why I use that verbiage of electronic handshake is because no handshake is ever the same. Similar to a snowflake, you will never get the same handshake twice. So with EMV these contactless payments, essentially it's a two-way transaction as opposed to a one-way transaction, which provides a greater level of security. So just so you know, when you see contactless payments, there are actually two forms of that. Okay. MasterCard's announced plans to incorporate biometric options with the launch of its upcoming contactless cards. These changes are huge. The payment space as we know it is completely changing, and remote transactions are growing in number at the same time that data breaches are. It's essential for vendors to keep an eye on data security since it's really going to be the key to staying ahead of the curve. Another thing, and this is a game changer. This is literally a game changer. Everything I've said so far has been imperative. I'm just going to recap. We talked about 3D Secure 2.0. We talked about biometrics. We talked about contactless. But this is something that I think is really the future. And when I say it's the future, I say that predicated on data based on what other global countries are doing. Remember I talked about how EMV was something that was really replicated because our European, Australian, Canadian counterparts were doing it. So what I'm about to tell you, okay, this is gold. This is gold. Gold, okay? In payment security, in addition to payment security, the uptick in payment processing solutions that bring merchants unprecedented ease of use and efficiency, okay? So how many of us are familiar with the PayFac model? Okay, so PayFac stands for Payment Facilitator, okay? There's now conferences about it. It's a huge deal. The PayFac model is really where trends seem to be moving forward on. With PayFac, the merchant service provider handles the entire underwriting process, which means that merchants can get set up with an account incredibly fast. The example I like to use is my daughter's lemonade stand. Okay, my daughter's 15, very entrepreneurial. Pretty sure she's going to either be a lawyer or a politician. If she wants to open a lemonade stand and take credit cards, not that I think the credit card piece for a lemonade stand is a good idea, and it also opens itself up to police. She has no real business, or Uncle Sam's taxes and paying taxes. But it's definitely something that's a model that's the wave of the future, and it's essentially there is no real underwriting. Okay, she will enter her name, date of birth, social security number, and as I like to say, God bless America. There's no need to fill out paperwork, provide documentation. The merchant simply provides a few key data points. Okay, so I'm sure we've all gone through the process of traditional underwriting. This is not involved in. It's one flat rate, and that's another big deal. People like, and it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind. I was working with a church recently, And one of the things we talked about was, flat rate and how important that is. And honestly, people love the concept and the model of a flat rate, even if it means they're paying a little more, because essentially the risk, we are absorbing more risk. The processor is absorbing more risk. So they enjoy the simplicity and transparency of a flat rate, even if it means they're paying more. Companies like Square and Stripe, they paved the way for this model, and now a growing number of merchant service providers are incorporating payback models as well. And that's actually something that we've been doing here at Cardknox. So we launched our Cardknox Go model, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it from developers and merchants alike. As more and more merchants consider the convenience of a payback model, it's essential for vendors in the space to add such a solution to their lineup. And by only offering a traditional merchant services account, businesses are going to lose customers that are increasingly flocking to these simple and straightforward models. Okay, simplicity. I mean, just think about BlackBerry and the iPhone. Simplicity was really that was the flight from BlackBerry to the iPhone. No one wants clunky. Another important technology that makes account onboarding a breeze is integrations and plugins. The team at Cardknox has experienced firsthand the difference it makes to offer support and integrations for the widest variety of payment hardware, POS systems, e-commerce platforms, and more. So one of the things, like, for example, and I spearheaded this project, was making sure that we're equipment agnostic. So you have Verifone, you have PAX, you have Ingenico, you have ID Tech with their slew of devices. And in many cases, they're different kernels, so it's not so simple. But being able to offer the merchant the option to use a Verifone device or a PAX device or an Ingenico device has been an integral part of our business model, because it really allows them the maximum flexibility from a price point and from a feature standpoint. Okay, every company has its own unique set of features. So it's easy for merchants to take advantage of our payment processing features because no matter the industry or setup, we offer solutions that are easy to implement and incredibly customized. I'll give you an example. So many of you may be resellers. NetSuite, which is one of the most popular EMP software programs, and actually we use it internally for our own, if we owe you money, so that'll be going through NetSuite. So when you sue me, take a number, but that'll be done through NetSuite. So NetSuite's one of those popular ERP software programs, and our plugin for NetSuite's made switching to Cardknox an incredibly simple option. So we created these plugins, and creating these plugins basically allow for simple, seamless interaction. Flexible integrations and plugins streamline onboarding. You're not only making it easy for businesses to switch to your solution, but you're ensuring real staying power because the merchant knows they'll have flexibility down the road. So that was one of the things that we looked at was just in general, it's not about today. We're always thinking 6 to 18 months ahead. One of the reasons I think we gained so much market share was because when the liability shift hit in October of 2015, we saw it coming. We had an EMV solution, first to market with EMV solutions, and we were able to capitalize on that. But it wasn't just the EMV component. It was the fact that people knew that whatever the next shoe to drop was, whether it was validated P2PE or whether it was e-commerce transactions, card not present transactions, whatever it was, they knew that we would have them covered, ultimate flexibility down the road. You need to make them aware that there's going to be that flexibility. Speaking of constant flexibility, recurring payments is another technology that a growing number of merchants are turning to for the tremendous ease of use. I'm not sure if any of you were at IHRSA, IHRSA in San Diego, health clubs, but health clubs is a huge vertical for us. We love gyms. Can't say we love to join them, but we love gyms. And there's memberships and subscription services. And with those things, if they have the ability to have recurring payments, the beauty is you sign up in January. My wife's been a Zumba member since January. It's now July. Pretty sure the last session she took was in, I'm going to go with February, and I'm being generous. But that concept of once they have you in the door, they don't let you go. So it also means that payment data can be stored extra securely, which is a component of recurring schedules. Merchants can automate their billing process, prevent errors, and improve customer satisfaction. We recently launched a recurring API and recurring schedules featured in our merchant portal, and it's been a huge selling point for merchants in a variety of industries. I mentioned health and fitness, but it's also been some industries you wouldn't think of, like amusement and recreation. Someone wants to buy a skiing ticket or a recurring skiing the subscription. That's something they can do as well. Just one more point I just want to talk about. I'm sure it's something we're all familiar with, but it's tokenization. No, it's not in the script. But tokenization. So I want to first define the way I define tokenization. I define tokenization as converting a 15 or 16-digit credit card number into a 32-digit alphanumeric code. And by the way, 15 digits is for Amex, 16 is for bank card, anyone else. But that concept of tokenization, the ability to take a credit card, which is essential in any recurring model, okay, is essential and integral. So the last thing I'm going to touch on, and then I'll shut up or take questions if there's time. Not sure if there will be because of the late start, but is international expansion. And this is a huge deal. I just talking to people on the floor yesterday, but in general, international expansion. In our increasingly digital world, borders simply don't matter anymore. Without much effort on their part, e-commerce merchants can receive orders from Russia, Singapore, and Costa Rica. Heck, we can even invite the Russians in to hack our elections. That was a joke. This means that providing processing support for a wide range of currencies is going to become even more important, and merchants are going to want to seek out such technology to boost profits. I'll just tell you, we have members, we have members of our teams in Croatia, as far as marketing and stuff like that. We have members of our teams across the globe, and we really live in a global environment, which is absolutely incredible to think about. So innovation in the payments and retail space can take on many different forms, but the driving force behind it all is really the same. So this is my last piece about customer experience, okay? You've got to create a superb customer experience. You got to get people to love you and do whatever it takes to do that. So whether you want to offer support for contactless payments, launch a payback model, utilize 3D Secure 2.0's frictionless customer verification methods, it all comes down to the fact that your clients and their clients, because don't forget, every one of our clients has a client, want to be able to process payments as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. With this in mind, you'll be able to stay focused on the next generation of payment processing features, and you can more effectively scout out the trends that are here to stay. I'm just going to give some quick takeaways, and I'm happy to open the floor for questions. Before I end off, some key takeaways, and then ask you some questions just for introspection, okay? So the goal of my talk today was to highlight the importance of innovation. Hopefully I did that. Hopefully I did a good job with that. And there's a survey at the end. So haven't been in school in a long time, but obviously I'd appreciate the good marks and how it really lays out the groundwork for success for vendors in the industry. I ran through several key payment trends for 2019, and I'm going to outline what those are. Card not present payment security, so the foil for EMV, the payback model, seamless and flexible integrations, recurring payments, and international expansion. So those things are key for 2019, 2020, and beyond. So again, card not present, payment security, payback, seamless and flexible integrations, recurring payments, and international expansion. Okay. Undoubtedly, these trends will continue to evolve, and we'll see entirely new technologies pop up in the years to come. What they are, it's hard to say, but we always try to stay, like I said, 6 to 18 months ahead of the next shoe to drop. But as long as you keep in mind, the ultimate goal for all industry innovation is creating a customer stellar experience. You'll be able to more easily identify the most important trends and those that have staying power. Now that we've honed in on the power of innovation and examined some key ways that it manifests itself in the industry, so maybe you can apply this to your work, consider the following questions. Number one, are you keeping a finger on the pulse of payment technology and trends, okay? Do you know what the next shoe to drop is? If not, what could you be doing differently? What does innovation mean for you or your business? How can you apply the value of innovation in a way that's unique? Obviously, we're all going to be different. We're all focused on different things. The last thing is, and this is probably the most important one, think about one of your current clients, or I'll tell you what I do. I take my top 10. Okay, I rate my people. I take my top clients based on revenue, based on opportunity, size of growth, et cetera. And I take my top 10 and I look at key indicators, key factors for what they like, what they don't like, and what they want, okay? What their roadmap is so I can align to them. So take these clients, or even one client, drill down on them and apply the lens of innovation. Does this change your approach? These questions are just the beginning. I encourage you to set aside a time in which you can dive into some new technologies and trends and consider how they can add value to your lineup of products and services. I thank everyone for attending my talk today. I wish you much continued success, and if there is time, I'd be happy to take any questions.